Hi, everybody. Jim Peters here. You're watching Jim Peters Tonight. It's 10:07 p.m. Central Time, 11:07 Eastern, 8:07 Pacific. And we just got done watching the primary debates. I want you to call me. You can call me at the telephone. It's a video phone call. You use the camera and the mic on your device. You go to that URL right there, jimandknight.com/call, push the button at the top of the screen, and you're on. Okay? All right. So we're going to discuss this, or frankly, anything else you want to discuss, but we're going to discuss this. So this is going to be probably an abbreviated show. Just really quick. Tomorrow night, our guest is Craig Williamson. He's the head or the host of the Vanish podcast, and we're going to talk about the disappearances of Amelia Earhart and DB Cooper. So it's an airplane episode, basically. All right. So now I watched the whole thing. Also, the other thing is, I did not watch whatever Trump and Tucker did on Twitter. I have not seen that at all. I don't even know. At press time, I wasn't absolutely positive they were going to do it, and I mean, it appeared they were going to, but I don't really know if they were or not. I got this weird thing in my eye today. I don't know. Forgive me. And it's a little red too, isn't it? It kind of feels like I got a cyst, but I've looked and looked. I don't. I can't find one anyway. So at any rate, my first thought when this thing started is it's kind of like a ball game. I mean, what the Marquette basketball team plays in there or something like that. I don't know. And then the second thing wrote down is no, it's a TV show, and it is. There were commercials. Did you notice that? American politics. There you go. It's a big sport now. My takeaway from this whole thing offhand is that the person I think that came off the best, or at least the most, or had the biggest chance of improving their stature was Tim Scott. And it's really interesting, man. I don't know if you noticed this, but when Scott spoke, there was silence in the auditorium. No one generally, he got some cheers toward and whenever he stopped talking, but generally when he spoke, there was silence, and he has a somewhat commanding and charismatic presence that goes above and beyond his talking. And I would say that even Ronald Reagan had that. I mean, the thing about Reagan, everyone loses track of this, and that is he wasn't good at thinking on his feet. I mean, he was a great orator, but he wasn't actually good at talking. He was good in conversation, you know, I mean, he avoided press conferences because he did not like to come up with answers off the top of his head, and he wasn't very good at it either. And I bring that up as a contrast to Ramaswamy, who seems to have some impetus right now. He seems to have some momentum, but I th- I get the impression, and maybe it's youth too, that he's trying a little bit too hard. I don't know. I mean, his argument that it's time for his generation to start running these things. I don't know. I don't know if it's quite time yet. I mean, he seems like a good guy. He's obviously knowledgeable and obviously very smart, but I don't know if these are my personal thoughts here. Of course, call me up and tell me if you disagree, or if you agree, or whatever, or if you're eating ice cream. Just a little aside. Last night, I took out the trash here in Northeast Minneapolis at 1:30 in the morning, and it was 87 degrees out, and the heat index was 99 at 1:30 in the morning. I told you last week or about 10 days ago about the fact we have this continental climate thing where in the summer it does not get cold, it does not cool down at night. No shit. Last night, the low last night in the Twin Cities was 80. That was the low. In the middle of the fucking night, it was 80 degrees. It's mind-boggling. Anyway, I get off. I get on a tangent. And why did I even bring that up? I can't remember now. Oh, if you want to talk about something else other than this, but so I found this kind of interesting. Scott came off really well. Ramaswamy came off well, but not as well as I think he wanted to. Uh, I have to admit I have a irrational dislike of Mike Pence. I bitch and moan about how the Democrats, the liberals have an irrational hatred of Trump. I have an irrational dislike of Mike Pence. I do not like the guy, and I can't tell you why. I can't. I mean, I can maybe allude to a little bit. I do wonder if he's just too much of an old style politician. You know, there's that. Um, I do think he's kind of, well, I mean, all those guy people are full of themselves. I was going to say guys, but there was one woman there, and let's address her. She made a pretty good impression, I thought. She talked pretty well, and she had some good things to say. And also the fact that, I mean, she's a pragmatist. She's trying to hit this thing about the fact, that we can't get an complete abortion ban through anything because the public is too against it, and she's right. That's true. I the consensus, not only just among politicians but even the public, and that is that we should allow abortion up to about the first trimester, around 13 weeks. They were talking 15 weeks, and yeah, okay, all right, around there. That seems a reasonable, and it also seems a reasonable compromise too. You know, but she brought up the point: you're never going to get 60 senators to vote for a complete abortion ban, and she's absolutely right. And and she even you know it's hard for I mean, I'm being sexist by saying this, but I think this is actually largely true. It's hard for a woman to shut down men. It is. I don't think it's emotionally hard. It's literally hard because their voices are not as loud or as low. That's literally the problem. So, and then you have Chris Christie. Now, I had put this on my notes here before, and I was saying this before too. I think it's pure speculation on my part. I have no evidence to back this up at all. I think that would be someone in the Democratic Party is actually paying Christie to run for president. Other than bashing Trump, he doesn't seem to be the least bit serious. Now, he made some good points there, and at one single point, he actually stood up for Trump. He said, "Yeah, Trump, as far as like this being a witch hunt, as far as Trump's indictments and all this sort of stuff." He actually did say that, but by and large, I actually think that somebody's funding his campaign who, if they weren't, he wouldn't be running. That's my personal feeling. I like I said, I have no proof of that at all. It's just a personal opinion on my part. Then you got Borgum and Hutchinson at the end of the stage. Borgum seems like a pretty cool guy. Hutchinson kind of reminds me of Christie. They're old style politicians. These are people. I mean, they're so used. The thing about old style politicians is they're so used to not speaking in an unfiltered manner that they can't do it. Someone brought that up. You're talking about the fact that, that Hillary Clinton, when she talks, she lies all the time. Yeah, well, she does. She's been a politician her entire life. You're literally trained to do that. At some point, that's what you do. And all those people, all those old style politicians on that stage. Now, granted, basically there were only two. That would be Pence and Hutchinson. But all the old style politicians, that's basically what they default to because they're so used to operating in that mode, they literally can't speak off the top of their head. Everything it goes through a filter in their brain. Now that's a trick. It's a trick of performance. You got to learn how to do that. But still, and also, I didn't. No one that I can think of made any sort of major slip up at all. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I don't know. Maybe someone will come up with one. But and DeSantis. Then there's DeSantis. So DeSantis has always had a problem. DeSantis does not have a sparkling personality. He doesn't. I think he's always had a charisma problem. But on the other hand, he's talking about all the stuff he did, and the good thing for him is that he actually did do all that crap. He actually has all this under his belt. I mean, I do not think Mike Pence would make a good president under any circumstances. I think we just have all same old, same old. Everyone's expecting hope and change. Barack Obama to become a disruptive, transformative, person in the presidency, and that didn't happen. Turns out, Obama was just another old style politician. He was. I think that's where Pence is at too. Then the irony is you get a guy like Trump who no one expected anything to happen. I was just reading just today, the New York Times, the day before the election in 2016, said Hillary Clinton had a 99% chance of winning. Well, how'd that work out for you then? You know. Uh, but but you get a guy like Trump, and he's the actual disruptor. He is. He's the disruptor. Now, I don't think, it's, I was reading Jazz Shaw, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, and also, reading David Strom on hotair.com today too, and I don't I'm gonna preface this a little bit. We have not posted this on our website. Oh, by the way, we've added a couple things to our website. We now have an episodes page. Every single episode is there in a little thumbnail. You can click on and watch it. We have a blog, and we changed the front page now has a calendar of upcoming guests and also a list of the posts on our blog. So what's not there today, Craig Williamson, who's coming on tomorrow, is on that list. David Strom isn't, but he's probably going to be on Monday. He's pretty much agreed. We don't know if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. That's the only thing they have left to settle. But he's already decided to come on. Now this guy, I can't tell you. First of all, he's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Now the other thing is that he works for um, HotAir.com. He's associate editor, which is the Salem media property, but he lives here in Minneapolis. Now the irony is I've never met him in the flesh. I mean, I've had on my shows at least a half a dozen times, and usually we go way over time. I mean, the guy's full of knowledge and really entertaining. So he's probably gonna be our guest on Monday, and then starting next Tuesday, we're gonna take the week off. So we're doing one show on Monday. We're taking the rest of the week off. We're coming back on Tuesday, September 5th, the day after Labor Day. It's going to give me a whole week to figure a whole bunch of stuff out here. I mean, we've been doing this now for 3.5 weeks, and it's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. I mean, I knew there'd be an adjustment period, but there's a lot to know to run for running this sort of broadcasting service. Hey, by the way, call me up right now, okay? JimandKnight.com/call. You can do this. Seriously, it's simple. I've asked every single person to call, how hard was it? And they said everyone said it's simple as pie. It really is. It's easier than dialing a telephone. I'm not kidding. You go to that webpage, JimandKnight.com/call. You go to that webpage, you click the button at the top, and you check your teeth in the preview screen to make sure you don't have, or your hair, whatever the hell it is, and that your mic is working, and you press the join button at the bottom, and you're in the queue. It's as simple as that. Because if you watch this tonight, I want to know what you think. Anyway, I was talking about DeSantis. So DeSantis has done all that stuff, but he's not the most charismatic person on the planet. But tonight, I actually thought he came off with some, for lack of a better term, passion. He did seem like he was talking, excuse me, off the top of his head, and also he was passionate about what he was saying. I thought that was an improvement. I mean, you gotta, really seriously, you think about this. Uh, you got 8 of those people on stage. I personally think at least 6 of them will make good presidents. That's my personal thing. We got an embarrassment of riches. And then there's a guy who wasn't on the stage, who they talked to at one point, the moderators, and also Brett Baer and Martha McCallum did a fantastic job. By the way, do you know Martha McCallum is 59 years old? Jesus Christ, I wish I looked that good at 59. Holy buckets. Anyway, they did spend a whole segment talking about, well, they said the elephant that isn't in the room, that would be Trump. And they asked the panel, they said, do you think, I think the question was, do you think Trump's indictments disqualify him from the presidency? And only Hutchinson said yes. He's the only one who did. As several of the candidates said they would pardon Trump if they were president. They would pardon him. Now you have to understand there's a precedent for that. Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon, even though Richard Nixon had not officially been accused of committing a crime. It was for all crimes possible, and or whatever. It was basically wipe the slate clean thing. So that's how and Ford said afterwards that him and Nixon made no arrangement to do that. The Ford just decided to do it, and he decided it was best for the country. He was right; it was. It also probably cost him the election. That election with him and Jimmy Carter was extremely close, and there were quite a few people who did not like Ford for doing that. And if he hadn't done it, he probably would have won. That's probably So you got a guy who put his money where his mouth was, but the thing is, it was good for the country. It's true. We didn't have to deal with this anymore. This is my problem. Like, for example, Biden should be tried, and I don't even mean an impeachment. When Biden gets out of office, he should be he should be thrown in front of a court for treason and bribery. I mean, he actually should. Now, is that good for the country? I don't know. I don't know if it is. First of all, it will dominate the headlines for months, if not years, and you don't want that because then if you're doing good stuff, it's all gonna be ignored. I mean, there's a lot of you can make an argument right now that what they're doing with Trump is trying to get people distract people from all the stuff they're doing that isn't good or that isn't working. You could make that argument, and it is really, really interesting how every single time that the Republican Oversight Committee comes up with some new charges against Hunter and or Joe, that literally the next day something happens with Trump. I mean, it's like at some point, is that coincidence? Geez, I don't know. I don't know. So, we have an embarrassment of riches. The other thing that somebody brought up is that, the liberals, the Democrats, the party of diversity, inclusion, and equity, which they call DEI, I call DIE, it's die. So I just trying to change the words around a little bit. Uh, they keep going on and on about how they're just so that they celebrate diversity, and yet the 8 people on the stage was way more diverse than any panel they put together in how many years? I have no idea. 8, 12? It's like 24. So you have a black guy, you got an Indian guy, you got a woman who's also a Native American, you know. You got you got 2 immigrants. Uh, it's really it's amazing. It's seriously, it actually does the Republican Party proud that I'm said before I'm not a Republican. I have no declared party, but they should be proud of that. I mean, overall it was a pretty good show. You know, I mean, like I said, I made some lists here. Um, and I can't read it because it's like what's the thing going on in my eye. I know it's like crazy. I don't know. Anyway, you guys aren't calling, and I didn't want to drag this show out. Hannity's on Fox News talking to a bunch of people. You don't want to watch that. I mean, Christ. Sean Hannity, he's a giant in the field. He is. There's no doubt about it. Actually, got over 700 stations carry his radio show. That's even more than even carried Rush Limbaugh's. But I think he's kind of getting my personal thing. He's maybe getting a little old and tired. I probably shouldn't say that, but I think that you probably listen to me ramble on incoherently. That's probably a lot more entertaining. That's what I think. Anyway, it's really interesting to happen here. I was really, truly, seriously. I'm going to hold on for a few minutes. If Trump did this thing with Tucker on Twitter, and you saw it, call me up because I do have absolutely no idea what happened there. I didn't even bother to try to check. I thought, well, you'll either tell me or I'll find out later. So I would like to hear about that. I'm serious. I'm gonna spend. I don't like to read. Oh, you know what else has struck me too? I made a note of this also because I think we all saw the same commercials. They're all national commercials on the Fox News feed. Um, they ran a commercial for TikTok, and some woman who makes soap is selling her soap on TikTok, and how it changed her life and made her rich, or I don't know, whatever the hell it was. And I was thinking, the only reason if you're TikTok that you do that is if you're guilty about what the hell's going on. Um, TikTok is a Chinese front by the Chinese government. The other interesting thing that struck me, if you heard our interview with Nathan Sue yet last night, and go back and listen to it if you haven't heard it. It was a fascinating discussion. I gotta apologize. The first 5 minutes, we had technical problems for about the first 5 minutes of that show, and there's a sound problem, and the picture went to hell and everything like that. But it does pick up, so bear with us there. Sorry about that. Um, so first of all, Nathan said something last night that I thought was really interesting. I learned stuff. I basically I want every person I interview to tell me at least one thing I don't know. And so at the end of that interview, if you heard it, I'm talking to Nathan. I said, well, there's not really going to be a hot war with China. It'll be a cold war, kind of the same one we have the Soviet Union. He said, no, Jim. He said, you're absolutely wrong. That's not true. He said, before 2030, the United States and China will be exchanging bombs. He said that. He said it'll happen as early as 2025 and as no later than 2030. And he also said that most of the people in Congress, although they don't talk about it, that he knows most of them think the same thing. In other words, he says in Washington, this is now an accepted speculation that at some point we will be shooting at the Chinese and they will be shooting back at us. It will probably be over Taiwan. So it's like not going to happen on our shores or on our land. But he says it's probably going to happen. And I found that amazing. And during the interview or during the debate, they brought this up. And there's a couple of people on the stage that alluded to this. But China was a big issue, as you noticed, a very big issue. Uh, and then there was the Ukraine question too, which I found kind of, here's my problem. I have not decided. I do not know what the best thing for us to do on this is. I don't. I'm very torn. I've been very afraid about this. On the one hand, we get to fight a proxy war with one of our big enemies, and we're not losing any troops yet. I don't think a single American troop has died in this thing so far. So there's that. On the other hand, it does look like it's becoming another one of these endless wars that goes on forever. And the reason they go on forever is because a whole bunch of people in the defense industry make a shitload of money. That's the reason. And so I don't know the quote. I haven't been able to figure out here what the best thing to do is. And they had quite a not a discussion. They had an argument about this on stage. I mean, it seems like about half and half of them think that we should be sending money to Ukraine, and the other half don't think we should. Ramaswamy is very, very hell bent on the fact that we should stop this right now. He says this is another one of these endless wars, and I know a lot of other people. Tulsi Gabbard thinks the same thing. Um, yeah. So anyway, and Mike Pence totally disagreed. He said no, no. He said no, and that argument is valid. Okay, so you can we can fight our enemy basically by proxy, basically. And so there is it's a valid point of view. And then it was brought up too. Well, if we're going to send all these billions of dollars to Ukraine, why don't we have billions of dollars for our own southern border? And that's a really good question. I mean, you'd think we take care of ourselves first, but on the other hand, I brought this up before. I think what's going on at the southern border is a deliberate act. They are letting people in deliberately. It has nothing to do with their incompetence. They're just letting people in because sooner or later they figure those people are going to get votes, and when they get votes, most of them will vote Democratic. And right now, based on the count, I mean, it's very hard to tell how many people have actually got into the country, but it's about the best count right now is about 6 million people. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's 2% of the American population right now. And if you're talking about voting, people who vote, it's about 3% of all voters. And elections in America are so close that 3% can make the difference between somebody winning and losing. That would be a Democrat winning and a Republican losing. That's what would happen. So the Democrats, they got all these tricks up their sleeve, you know. Okay, so none of you calling. Okay, I'm gonna it's let me see, it's 10:32 Central Time right now, and I'm gonna canvas. We're done for tonight. So tomorrow, like I said, we got Craig Williamson on from the Vanish podcast. We're gonna have a fascinating discussion. We're gonna talk about two people who have been missing. Well, Amelia Earhart's been missing for about 90 years, and uh, DB Cooper's been missing since November 1971, so about 50 years, over 50 years. And so we're going to talk about what might have happened to those people. Craig did 50. I find this unbelievable. He did 50 broadcasts of a podcast just on Amelia Earhart. You heard me right. 50 episodes. They did 50 episodes just on Amelia Earhart. So he knows a lot about this. Now they didn't do quite as many on DB Cooper, but I had a great discussion with him on the phone when we were booking the interview. It's like I already told him he's coming back. It's like, we haven't done it yet. It's like but we had a great time talking about it. So there's about 14 serious suspects of people who could be DB Cooper, and the problem is none of them. They all perfectly match the profile of this guy. That's the problem. So they all have paramilitary parachuting experience. Um, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And of course, your phone calls. I want to take your phone calls. Yeah, except you didn't call up tonight. Jesus, what are we gonna do? I know this is new. I know that. I know a lot of you want me to tend to the chat like all the other people who do this tend to the chat. No, I want you to call up on, and I'm going to mention this one more time. You don't have to put your face on the screen. There's an option when you get to the preview screen to choose your camera. Even if you only have one camera, there's a pull down there, and you can choose no video, and then your video will not be broadcast. So if you choose no video, you get a dialog box where you can upload an avatar, put a funny picture up, then we get to put that on the screen, and that's cool too. But still, you do not have to put your face on the screen. You can do this audio only. So, any rate, folks. So yeah, it's now it's 10:34, and I'm going to can this. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope you had a good evening. I would say my wrap up opinion of this is that I think the Republican Party is in pretty good shape, based on what I saw, and of course the front runner was not even there. So he was so, but even the 8 people that were there, most of them would probably make really good presidents. So anyway, my 2 bits. I'm Jim Peters. You're watching Jim Peters Tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. One more time tomorrow. We're 1 hour ahead of our posted time. We're starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Not if you go to our website or you look on the Rumble and all this stuff, it says 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. No, tomorrow we're starting an hour earlier, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.